changes here.
I can sit up, hon.
Okay, everybody mute,
I can
please.
sit up. It's fine. I can sit up. Right now, he's fiddling around, getting it all set up.
Oh, that's him. Doesn't even look like stuff.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our annual meeting tonight. Steve, could you put up the agenda, please? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our annual meeting tonight. Steve, could you put
You have it.
Okay, it's kind of, the proportion isn't right. You can't see the whole thing. But anyway, let me go on while Steve is trying to fix this. As I said, tonight is our annual.
Peg, it's coming out on YouTube, okay. It's your,
Oh, okay. Let me look at this. Okay, so tonight's our annual meeting. According to our bylaws, we are supposed to conduct an annual meeting every year in April. So tonight, that's what we're doing. And the first thing I'd like to do is bring our meeting to order. And our first order of business, you can put down the slide, please. The first order of business is reading the minutes of the last annual meeting from April of 2020. So I will do that. The 2020 OSC election. The 2020 Onondaga Ski Club annual meeting was canceled due to guidelines from the CDC and state, local, and federal governments prohibiting gatherings of more than 50 people due to a pandemic. The OSC election, usually held at the annual meeting, was conducted via online voting. Quorum. According to the OSC bylaws, a quorum for an annual election consists of 10% of the membership. The membership was 759, total ballots 159, roughly 20% participated in the election. Inspectors of elections. Darlene Devendorf created documents and tallied votes received. Diane Webb provided verification. So the result of the voting, electronic and paper ballots, are as follows. Total ballots were 159. Changes to the bylaws approved 152 electronic plus 5 paper ballot equals 157 total. Disapprove 2 electronic plus 0 paper ballots equals 2. Inspectors of election, Darlene Devendorf and Diane Webb as designated inspectors. Approved 154 electronic plus 5 paper ballots equals 159 total. Disapproved 0, both electronic and paper. Candidates. Position of president, Peggy Hotaling, 1 year. Vice President Tom Hitchens for a term of 2 years. Director Julianne Harmon, a term of 3 years. Director Jay Cohen, a term of 3 years. Director Maggie Timothy, I'm sorry, Maggie, a term of 3 years. Respectfully submitted by Teresa Covington, Recording Secretary. Okay, so now that we have read the minutes, our next business we have to take care of is to determine if we have a quorum. So Elizabeth, our membership chair, Elizabeth Chapman, will verify this for us. So Elizabeth, we had 125 votes, 0 absentee ballots.
Thank you, Peggy. In order to achieve a 10% quorum, we required 68 votes and we received 125 votes. So the quorum has been met.
Good. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Okay, so the next is the notice of this annual meeting was printed in the April Shushboomer and was sent to members via email, as well as being posted on the website. Another requirement is to vote for inspectors of election who verify the voting. This year, Darlene Devendorf and Diane Webb again were elected as inspectors, and they have verified the results. So where's Diane? I know she was with us. Thank you, Diane. Darlene couldn't make it with us tonight. So thank you for your help with that. And at this point, we normally have a report from Mary Begley, our treasurer, but unfortunately she cannot be here. So what we are going to do is put the report in the May Shushboomer and also post it online where you find the minutes of the board meetings. So with that said, I'd like to present our new board members. First, we have for President Tom Hitchens for a term of, this is his first term, and it will be for a period of 2 years. Tom, want to say hi? Okay. You probably all know we did not have a candidate for recording secretary, so there is a vacancy in that position. Jane Trezise was elected as treasurer. This is her first term, and she will serve for 2 years. Marilyn McCabe, Marilyn, is elected as corresponding secretary. This is Marilyn's second term, and it is also for a period of 2 years. For directors who will all be serving their first term for 3 years are Dave Holloway. Hi, Dave. Kathy C., who could not be with us tonight, and Peter Wynyard. Peter, congratulations to everyone. This is my last term as president, but I will remain on the board as past president for a period of 2 years. All newly elected candidates will begin their term starting May 1st. So before closing, I'd also like to thank those leaving the board. First of all is Teresa Covington, our recording secretary, who could not be here tonight. Mary Begley, treasurer, and directors Steve Davis. Steve, say hi. Terry McNamara. Did I see Terry come on? No. Okay, and Neville Sachs. Neville, everybody knows Neville. And there's Terry. Say hi, Terry. Okay. Several of these people are already on committees, and I know they will continue in that way to help lead OSC. So this concludes the business portion of the meeting. But before I sign off, I'd like to say a few things myself before we get to those things that we all like to learn about the club is doing. So there's a lot of people I could thank, but just suffice it to say that if I did call everybody by name, it would take the rest of the meeting. So I would say that all the people who have supported the club over the last year deserve a big thanks and a round of applause. Being a social club, wanting to be with our friends has been challenging this past year. Thanks to technology, we've been able to continue to conduct the business of the club, hold meetings, and even socialize online with book club and our little social hour. So, you know, I'd like to thank a lot of people for their contributions. I've asked the board many times to think outside the box and come up with some new ideas, and they've come through for the entire club. They deserve a special thanks, as do the committees who kept working through all this time. I won't name them all, you know who they are. So finally, a special thanks to the activity leaders who managed to keep us out there, get us out there when we could, keep us safe, follow guidelines, and we were able to see each other. So thank you, and let's move on. So now let's talk about some other things, some things happening in the next few weeks. But first of all, I'd like to call on Henry and Lee, our lodge committee reps, who've been keeping an eye on the lodge, and they'd like to say a few things.
So there's a picture of our beautiful lodge in Vermont. It's been the anniversary of the year since anybody in the club has been there. Fortunately, we have two gentlemen in Vermont. We had our caretaker who lives across the road. So he has routinely been checking the outside, the inside for us, looking for any rodents, any ice buildup, anything going on. He keeps us alert and in connection. Also, we had the snowplow contractor. He continued to plow throughout the winter. Even though we weren't there, we wanted it open for emergency vehicles as necessary or anything that was going on. So even though we weren't there in person, we had two people up there keeping track of things for us. We are having a lodge committee to schedule our work weekend. Normally we go late April, so we're looking to go May, at the latest, the first part of June. At that time, we will be talking about getting the lodge ready for reopening. We will be talking about changes in some procedures, such as we have a potential that we will require that any member using the lodge have their vaccinations behind them at least 2 weeks prior to going to the lodge. We will not be using the online reservation system when we first reopen. We'll have more controls, so it'll be through via email or phone reservations. We will be updating the lodge website, which is a little outdated for the information. And Henry has something to say about Vermont regulations at this time. Thank you.
Vermont updated their cross-state travel information as of April 9th. And in doing so, they have come out with a certificate of compliance that we will have to have every person staying there fill out, or couples. Anyway, it gives the entire list of what you have to meet in order to go to the state. Obviously, if you've been vaccinated, you don't have to quarantine or anything anymore. But there are a whole list of things, and I encourage everybody to go out to the state of Vermont and take a look at this. We will also put it on the website. We'll also try to get this digitized so that when you do make a reservation, you can complete it electronically. We also have to maintain a file of the certificate of compliance for 30 days at a minimum. So there will be changes coming down in order to be able to use the lodge. And as that all gets fleshed out, we will make sure everybody is notified.
And I want to add one more thing. I appreciate at the time when we had to shut the lodge down, there were various members that had stays that they paid for, and they agreed to having credit on file. So we do have that record. We have credits on file. We will let you use those right up through like the next coming ski season. So no worries there. We appreciate all the patience and looking forward to being back to Vermont at our lodge. Thank you.
Thank you both. Yeah, we're all anxious to get back up there, and as Henry and Lee said, Vermont has certain restrictions. Henry's been following them for the past year almost, after they started updating their website. So it's been a long time coming, and hopefully we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. So anyway, thank you both for coming. All right, so let's move on to the calendar. Neville's going to tell us all about how we're going to get indoors, outdoors, when, where.
I am.
Yep.
I'd like to start out and apologize to golf because we put off a hike from yesterday's not so great weather to today's. That was really kind of spectacular. And we had 13 people today that went over from Spruce Pond to Jones Knob and down to Tinker Falls and then back. And looking at the calendar, you see today's Tuesday and there's golf. And every Tuesday from now on until it starts getting dark early, we'll have golf on Tuesdays, like I said. Wednesdays, we're going to have bicycling. And the hiking will be, and I'll talk more about the hiking in a couple of minutes, but the hiking will be the second and fourth Mondays. At least that's what our current schedule. And hopefully we can get some weekend hikes in also. Other important things on the calendar, obviously they're all important, but other more semi-important things. We've got a sip and share coming up on the 20th. Another Zoom get together. Adopt a Highway on the 24th. We have a good number of people signed up for that, and I really appreciate that because many hands make the job a lot easier. The spring book session starts on May 3rd. We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. And of course, we've got the board of directors and the regular meetings going on after that. We have board of directors meetings every first Tuesday of the month, and you're all invited to contact the president, Tom, and ask him if you want to attend, or let him know that you would like to attend. Steve, could you put the next slide up, please? The book discussion on Zoom, as always. I should note that today's hike, everybody on the hike was vaccinated and the vaccinations had taken place. I think it's the first ski club activity we've had in a year that I've been able to see people's faces. And boy, was that nice. But back to the book club. It'll be on Zoom on May 3rd. The Bookwoman of Troublesome Creek. And it's a choice by Diane Emick, and it sounds to me like it's really interesting. I say any of you that are interested that want to attend, please contact Diane for further details. And with that, Steve, I'll ask you to pass on to the next slide. This is not people trekking up to the Mount Everest base camp. It just looks like it. This was the previous hike at Pratt's Falls. Today's hike was the one at the bottom of the list, Spruce Pond. I think we've had 16 hikes so far, 15 hikes. And how about going on to the next one, Steve? That's a little bit better list, 15 hikes. There are 3 more firmed up on our plan. And one of the things, if you look at that third bullet, you know, it says that we're planning on hikes on the 2nd and 4th Mondays. We'd really like to have a few more hike leaders for both weekday and weekend hikes. Now, we have a hiking committee, and that's things that the hiking committee has done are covered in that 4th bullet. So we've got a checklist for everybody to use to make life easier for them. But the thing I think really important to you people that we'd like to have volunteer to lead some hikes is that the policy is we're always going to have an experienced assistant leader for support. So, you know, we're not putting you out there on your own without any help and that sort of thing. The very bottom bullet on this slide says the leader gets to determine both when and where to hike. Kind of what we've been trying to do is go to new and different places and visit some old favorites and that sort of thing. But really, we would like to have more hike leaders. It just makes it easier. One of the things we've asked of the hike leader is that they be familiar with a hiking area. And that means if we have the same people lead hikes all over and over and over again, they have to go and at least make a recent visit to that area. And it puts a little bit of a demand on them. Also, more hike leaders will help us develop more leadership for the club. Think about it. We will give you lots of support. We're not going to put you out there on your own. I think that's the end of my end of the session, I think. Wait a minute, let me check. Yes. And now I can turn it back to Peg and excuse me, I can turn it up to Ann Sani, who's going to talk about bicycling. And we're going to try to run hiking somewhat similar to the bicycling program. Go on, Ann. I'm done. That's it. This is my last one.
I'm ready.
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. All right. The first ride for biking will be, of course, April 21st at 6 p.m. And notice the time change for April for 6 p.m. at East Syracuse, Manoa. Now, just as a reminder, sunset will be next week at 7:55 p.m. So make sure you schedule your rides to fit in that time frame. The other really important thing is that you need to either access the ride with GPS for your directions or print them up from the website. And it's been very clear that we've sent out several notices about the cycling forum and how to get maps. It's very clear. I'm not going to go over that, but it's really important that you come to that ride knowing which ride you're going to be on and a map for it, either a paper map or a ride with GPS. Please make sure your bike is in good shape. I think a lot of us have been out biking already. John and I biked the ESM route last week. So make sure you have a light, especially for the rear of your bike as we bike during dusk. That's really important. And make sure you also have a spare tire. Just make sure you have all the things you need for biking as well as water and the all-important helmet. And finally, we're still following COVID guidelines. Not everybody's been vaccinated, or they're still in the midst of them. So we will still be honoring COVID guidelines, maybe not as strictly as we did last year, but they're still very much on our mind. So we will see you next week. The weather plans to be, so today, clear, 50 degrees. So make sure you have your long underwear on. As long as it's not raining, we will be there. So we will see you next week. If you need help with Ride with GPS, or you're rusty like I was last week, please come a few minutes early and somebody will teach you how to use it. John will be there. Members of our committee will be there to help you out. So biking is our biggest activity. So see you there. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Ann. Steve,
You're
can you sit down for a minute? Okay, thanks. All right. I just wanted to say, I don't know if some of you heard or not, but Ann is our new chair of the cycling committee, and she has replaced John Heslop. John did a very nice job with the committee, and now Ann has stepped up and is going to take it over. So good luck with that, Ann. She'll tell you a different story of how it happened, but anyway, good luck and thanks for volunteering to do that, Ann. All right. So I think next we have Bruce and his committee. Well, his trip leaders, I should say. Bruce, you can introduce Antonio and Maggie. You gotta unmute.
Okay, next slide, Steve. Okay, just a review of the past year. We did a lot of skiing, even though there was COVID. In 2020, we had Big Sky, Bristol, COVID, Wood, excuse me, Crested Butte, Ellicottville, Smuggler's Notch. As we started to look to planning to 21, we talked about Banff, Breckenridge, Park City, Deer Valley, Treblanc, and the trip committee settled on Park City, Deer Valley, but then with COVID, that got canceled. So then we created something called the U-Drive trips that we had been doing in the past, but not to the extent that we did this past winter. And I'd like to thank everyone who did lead a U-Drive trip. We had cross country, Bill Slazaris, Beaver Lake, Highland Forest, Jay Cohen, Julianne Harmon, Osceola and Winona. And then Kevin Mayer did a trip to Bristol. Jack O'Brien was going to do a trip to Elk, but then because of COVID, Pennsylvania shut down and we couldn't get there. Ellicottville, Jack O'Brien, Scott Launt, Greek Peak, Maggie Timafi, twice she had a group go down there. Gore and Snow Ridge was Gary Tiroli, Macaulay Mountain, Woods Valley, Terry McNamara. Coming up for 22. Okay, we got Park City and Deer Valley back on board. It's going to be led by trip leaders Kathy C. and Maggie Timafi. Valley Nevada, Chile, led by myself and Antonio Herrera. Mount Treblanc, we need an experienced trip leader. Bill Slazaris is very interested in learning how to become a trip leader, and he wants to help with that trip, but we need an experienced trip leader to lead that trip. And Terry McNamara is still working on a trip to Japan. So, in moving right along, Maggie, are you ready to talk about Park City?
I sure am, Bruce. So we have decided that Park City is on for this coming 2022 session. We aren't sure entirely about the airfare yet, but it looks like it's going to cost us about $1,700 for 7 nights at the DoubleTree and round trip from Syracuse to Salt City. That includes the ground transfer, baggage handling, 2 people per room, either 2 queens or a king bed, breakfast daily. Of course, the basic amenities that will be in the room. There's also a grocery store next to the hotel where we'll be staying. So if you don't want to eat in the restaurant that's attached to the hotel or go to a local restaurant, there's a lot of choices. The group dinner, we're still looking at options for that. Not only is there a free shuttle bus from the hotel, but there are buses that run every 15 minutes through Park City in both directions that are free. So there's a special app that I've already downloaded in anticipation of my trip that will help us to navigate that. The ski passes, we're going to, because there's so many choices. Park City, for example, has over 7,000 acres of skiable terrain. So it's absolutely massive. And now Canyons is part of Park City. So it's all one package. You don't have to buy a separate ticket to go to Canyons. Epic Pass covers everything at Park City, and ski.com is got some special deals for club members to buy via their ski.com. And if you're going on this trip, you will get a $30 discount for your land package. Deer Valley is also rated #1 by Ski Magazine for 5 years in a row. Unfortunately, it is only for people willing to put on a pair of skis. Snowboarders may not ski there. They have over 2,000 acres of skiable terrain. Also, there's lots of skiable cross country available in the area. There's 70 kilometers of groomed trails near Park City and the surrounding mountains. 25 groomed kilometers of free skiable terrain as well. So that's very nice as well. And of course, there's lots of other things that you can do there. There's sleigh rides. There's a place where you can go tubing at Woodward Park. There's dog sledding. There's, you can rent fat tired bikes. You can rent snowmobiles. You can take a trip over to the Olympic Park and ride their Comet bobsled and sign up for that. That's kind of something I'd like to do. And there's a lot of opportunity there. So we thought it would be best if everybody kind of made their own decisions as to what they wanted to ski and how many days. That's why we've decided not to include an actual choice on what you have to ski with ski tickets. So that's very much doable depending on what your choices, how many days you'd want to ski, whether you want a day off from skiing to see some of the local sites. There's more than enough to do, especially when you go on to the internet and you look up the maps for these areas. I was hoping to share a slide, but it became very warped. It didn't work. So we weren't able to share that, but it's absolutely massive. Park City has over 340 trails, 41 lifts, 7 terrain parks. If you stayed there all week, I don't think you could ski all their terrain. So there's plenty of things to do and enjoy. So I hope lots of people will be wanting to go on this trip and we won't have a trouble filling that up. All righty. Thank you very much. I'm excited.
Thank you, Maggie. Steve, could you put the next slide up? I'd like to introduce Antonio Herrera. Antonio, wave your hand. Hello. Antonio is a relatively new member to the club. He's been in the club a few years now. He is a native of Santiago, Chile. So I'm going to have him start the intro about our trip. Go ahead, Antonio.
Hello, everyone. Maybe some of you know me, but I brought this up because I wanted to wear it. But this is how I look like without it. But anyway, it's kind of like a nice opportunity to be able to share a little bit of my native land. I have all my family there. My uncle lives in the capital. And I went to college in Santiago. So I was able to ski in this place. This place is about 30 years old. and it started as a French and Chilean partnership. And it's quite unique. It's 10,000 feet high. It's 90 minutes east of the capital, Santiago. It's a wide open terrain. It's 23,000 acres of skiing terrain. There's 3 valleys connected to Valle Nevado. Valle Nevado is the highest, but then below there's 2 more ski villages. We don't want to call it centers because they're more like towns. My college had a how do you call it? A hostel place in the down the valley. So there's 3 valleys connected to all these. And the vertical drop is about 26,000 feet, the vertical drop, and there's 39 runs. 10% of the terrain is for beginners, 30% is for intermediate, 33% is for advanced, and 21% is for expert. They have 17 lifts in the area, and they have a newly gondola ride that it can take you up and down the highest point there. 80% of the time, the weather is sunny. And so the ski center is located, as I said before, a few miles from the capital, Santiago. If you know a little bit about history, Chile in the last 40 years developed tremendously because they adopted more capital reforms, and it's an open economy. And the capital is about 7 million people. And the interesting piece about this trip, and this is why I joined, and I've been the cheerleader of Bruce because Bruce has been there recently. I haven't. But I was there in Chile in 2019 for my daughter's wedding. And Santiago has a really nice section of town where our hotel will be located. And I highly suggested that you get to see it. We're going to be spending a few days there. Bruce is going to get into the details of the trip.
Steve, could you put the next slide up?
And this is where the section where the hotel is going to be located. They have Chilean places as well as American business, but it's a nice, safe area. Beautiful coffee shops as an indoor and outdoor shopping center. It's in Las Condes district of Santiago. If you Google it, if you go into the video that was in the link of in the presentation, you'll be able to see parts of this section. And they have about 20 restaurants. This whole center was built in 1982. And there's another piece about our presentation that I was questioning why Bruce put it, but it will be the next slide. It's related to the altitude because it's kind of high. You got to bring a bottle of water to be able to keep yourself, refreshed and having water consumption. Otherwise, you're going to be able to feel a little bit of the high altitude. I never had the experience, but it depends. It depends on people. Some people get it, some other people. My wife, she grew up here in Syracuse, so she never had anything. She went there several times, up and down. And she even mentioned, has stories that she was skiing in Chile in jeans and a sweat and a short sleeve shirt. And I say, well, sometimes it's very sunny there. But I just wanted to be able to join some more activities for the club, and I'm gonna be wearing my Chilean hat. So if you have any questions about the trip, you'll be able to locate me. But Bruce has the details of the trip. He's very good with organization and numbers. So I'm gonna leave that part to him. But thank you and nice meeting you all. I can take some questions at the end.
Okay, Steve, thank you. Antonio just referenced a link, the very link, the YouTube link at the top of the screen right now provides a tremendous overview of Santiago, of Valle Nevado, and along the coastline where we're going to be going. So let's review the package. We're going to fly out of Syracuse on August 4th. It's an overnight flight. We land early morning on August 5th. And then the first part of the day, we'll be doing a little bit of touring. We'll stop for lunch. Lunch is included. The tip is also included. And we'll stop at make a grocery stop so people can buy water, wine, beer, whatever snacks that they want to have. And then we'll go up into the Andes to Valley Nevado. When I was there in 2017, I didn't count them all, but I was told there was about 75 switchbacks. So it's a smaller bus. It's not a 55 passenger bus because a long bus can't get around the switchbacks. So they're shorter buses. 7 nights lodging. We're going to be at the Hotel Porta del Sol, 4-star hotel. Breakfast and dinner is included. 6 days of skiing is included. Now dinners, all you need to do is give your room number. You can have dinner in the hotel. A short walk away is a French restaurant. All you need to do is give them your room number. Short walk away is also an Italian restaurant. All you have to do is give them your room number. And a Chilean restaurant. You will have to make a purchase of whatever beverage you're going to have, whether it be water. If you don't have the Chilean wines while you're there, then you're missing out on something. We're able to get ski rental discounts for those people who don't want to bring their own skis. They do have very good selection of ski choices. And then on August 12th, we're going to leave that morning and we're going to go down into Santiago. We're going to make some sightseeing stops along the way. And then we're going to stay 2 nights at the Marriott Courtyard, not far from that. 2 slides earlier, you saw that all the lights and glitz of the construction that I think Antonio said 1982. You will be responsible for your own dinner on the 12th and the 13th. There'll be some sightseeing that you can do. August 14th, we check out in the morning after breakfast. Breakfast is included at the courtyard. And then we'll take a bus over towards Valparaiso. On the way, we'll stop at a vineyard. We'll tour the vineyard and get a little taste of some wines. And then we're going to go to the city of Valparaiso, which is one of the oldest port cities in the world. If you know anything about Chile, Valparaiso is a very colorful city. And then we're going to stop and have lunch. Lunch is included. Hopefully we can get the restaurant that we want. If we can't get the restaurant we want, it'll be something similar. But it's a very, very nice restaurant. It's a restaurant that I had lunch at when I was there in 2017. And then we get back on the bus and head over to the airport for an evening flight home, and we land in Syracuse on the 15th. One of the things that I want to mention to everyone is that whether you're interested in the Park City trip, Deer Valley, or the Valley Nevado trip, one of the things, because of the COVID situation, we're going to do some Zoom presentations. And we're going to make it explicitly for the Park City Deer Valley trip. So they will have a Zoom presentation. Kathy sees the trip leader. Maggie Timafi is the assistant trip leader. We're going to work with Steve. Thank you, Steve. And we're going to have a Zoom presentation so that people can get more details. Antonio and I are also going to do the same thing. The airfare for our trip to Valley Nevado, we won't know until September. So our trip won't go on sale until middle to the end of September. So what we're going to do is we'll probably do a Zoom meeting coming up in the next month or so. And then we'll do another one a few weeks prior to the trip going on sale. That way people have a chance to see more, and see and hear more details about the trips, whether it be Park City, Deer Valley, or whether it be Valley Nevada. I do want to mention that as far as Icon and Epic passes go, it's a personal choice. Just like buying a lift ticket wherever you want to go, or a season's pass, whether it be a Labrador, Toggenburg, Song, Greek Peak, or wherever. Just keep in mind that you should be watching the websites for Epic and Icon now, because they're starting to offer deals for this coming winter. Our Valley Nevada trip would be, because it's in August of 2022, it's Icon Pass. It would not be this coming year's Icon Pass. It would be the one for the following year. Because we need to keep that in mind. So it's the Southern Hemisphere. Santiago is approximately going to be in the neighborhood of 55 to 70 degree temperature when we're in Santiago before we go up to the mountain. So you're going to have to pack your winter clothes and your summer clothes and be ready for all seasons. Antonio, is there anything more you'd like to add?
No, I'm hoping that people will take the opportunity. It's a beautiful city. It's one of my favorites in the world, actually. It's really nice.
But you're not biased.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, great. Sounds wonderful. All the trips. And I hope I can get on that trip to Chile, but we'll see. Going skiing in August is kind of like, what? Are we allowed to do that? But anyway, all right, let's move on. Steve, can you put up the next slide, please? Okay, we lost it. Okay, so as you all know, I put out a message recently that Jean Cesar will be stepping down from leading the kayaking, and as of tonight, I've had people say they would lead outings, but I have not had anybody say they would like to take over for Jean as a leader. So I'm asking one more time, if anybody's interested in doing this. We want to keep the program going. We know there's a lot of people in the club that like to kayak. So if you want to take Jean's book, she has everything documented in all the areas and all the information you need, or even if you would just like to lead an outing, please let me know as soon as you can, because the program normally starts in June, and we like to do that if we can. So let me know if you're interested in helping out at all. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Let's not forget to get our summer logo wear. All you have to do is go on the website. There's this icon is on the homepage. Click it and it'll take you to the store and you can order whatever you want to order. Okay, so that about wraps it up for tonight. Our next meeting will not be until September, and whether we have to meet virtually or in person is to be determined. So in the meantime, I hope you all come out, enjoy some of our activities, go cycling, join a hike, go kayaking, go golfing. We have it all. So have a nice summer, and we will see you in September. Thank you all for joining online, and take care. Good night.